Yeah, bro.
Wow.
So our brother Sedacious is not on the podcast tonight. Pray that everything is okay with him and his family. Not sure why he didn't show up tonight. He's a 1000% through and through Drake
Uh,
stan. He's been on Drake's side with his Kendrick Lamar beef. Absolutely for
Drake
the most longest.
Drake
Um,
got Sedacious on payroll, apparently.
He must be on payroll, and if he got you on
I,
payroll and you ain't broke
I
bread,
wish I could see our group chat. Is
I
is
mean,
very
again,
much so
we might have to
payroll
divulge the
vibe.
group chat since he not here to speak up for himself tonight. We have to let people in on the group chat.
I'm
Um,
full Kendrick mode. I'm in full hater mode tonight. Just forewarned.
so I'll say this to start off. Uh, I believe Kendrick won. That's not breaking news. But
Chuck,
personally, for myself, outside of public opinion and all the followers of people in the group, and all on social media who just looking for somebody to follow. Personally, my personal opinion, listening to it back and forth, listening to both what they had to say, paying attention to the angles, who said what, who did this, what lyric matches up with this bit piece of information. I think Kendrick won. I believe it's not even close. But in saying that, um, it sucks that we can't troll him a little bit since he's not here. But trolling him a little bit, that being sedacious in the group chat or whatever, I think Drake did as well as he could do in terms of just like defending himself. He didn't lay down, but he didn't. I don't think him in terms of him winning. I don't think it's debatable. I think Kendrick won in a landslide, very
the
strategically.
Heart Part 6 was a graceful bow out.
It was a graceful bow out. I know Darnell. I know you was telling me uh
Graceful may be a stretch.
him listening to the heart part six. It's like him basically saying I didn't do it. However, I think it was very formidable, like the angle he took on Kendrick and like the whole like child and play in terms of like the records that he put out on Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. So I know some people probably gonna hate on Drake just because like it's the cool thing to do, but I think Drake did like a very serviceable job in like holding his own amongst the beef. Did way better than he did against Pusha T. So I think that's a plus in his department. um, but yeah, so that's my overall take on it. But yeah, it's not even close to Kendrick. They Not Like Us is like fire. Euphoria, fire. Um, Push Ups, I think was probably like his best work in terms of like Drake's side. Um, Over like Push Ups, I would take Push Ups over Family Matters.
I thought
Um,
Taylor Made and Family Matters were one and two, in my personal opinion.
I forgot
I
about
thought
Taylor Made.
the
I forgot
AI
about Taylor
was a
Made.
tough angle, even though they got a cease and desist as far as Tupac's estate. But the third person setup he did in regards to talking to Kendrick through the West Coast legends in order to like get on his Canadian big ass paw. But I definitely feel like Kendrick won. I think he was more strategic. I think he was more thorough in regards to the topics he harped on and how he harped on them in chronological order. I feel like in importance, more so just narrating and telling a story. Really, you can definitely tell this has been pent up, right? One could easily say since control. So this has been years and years brewing of subtle, shots and little nuanced things been said in verses, throughout the years between two parties. So you get a culmination of Euphoria 616 in LA, which has so many layers to it. A lot of people go to biblical, maybe Isaiah 6:16, or First Kings or First Samuel. You can take your own research in regards to that. It's a very mighty and prophetic things being spewed. If those references even go that deep, and for Drake to ask for quintuple entendre and for
Get that times 10.
to actually get that is pretty remarkable to say the least. So, um, like I said, I would definitely agree. I don't think Drake went down without a fight, but I think the Heart Part Six is what lost it for me, and it wasn't. Joe Budden says the line of he had to go timestamp Drake, which is everybody knows 5 a.m. in Toronto, the 9 a.m. in Dallas or whatever the case may be, where Drake just
6 a.m. in Charlotte and all
goes
that.
into his lyrical bag and just obliterates people. But it wasn't really the case, man. Like you didn't feel that energy in the song. You didn't feel the ultra response of what happened. And I think Kendrick took advantage of moments and capitalized as far as the energy and avalanching with certain songs and dropping back to back. Very similar to what Drake did with the Meek Mill beef. I got the drink in me going back to back. I don't know if Kendrick had that drink in him, but man, he had something in him for sure. It's definitely in him, not on him. So, uh, man, greatest hip hop beef in history. I mean, I think that goes without saying. Um, just so many layers to it, and then I just want to leave y'all with this. You all know that Aubrey Graham has Karl Malone and what as one of his neighbors. And if people who don't know who Karl Malone is, NBA legend who played for the Utah Jazz, and if you heard it not like us, you heard Kendrick say, um, I'm a pass on the body, I'm John Stockton. I thought it was a pretty elementary, bro. I'm like, man, how many people we done heard say pass on like John Stockton, Kendrick? Like, I get it, but the beat was so far, I overlooked it. But then it was a deeper layer to it because John Stockton is on the same team as Karl Malone, and Karl Malone is allegedly known for getting involved with underage women in the state of Utah. This has been an ongoing theme with Karl Malone. Been a hidden NBA known secret. So very interesting when you're in a position of power and privilege like that in regards to money. You can pretty much pick your neighbors. You chose Karl Malone. I don't know. I don't know if that's by accident.
Yeah,
I'll leave that where it
as
is.
far as I know, allegedly, when Karl Malone was like younger, right before he got to the league, he got an underage young lady pregnant. I want to say in Louisiana, if not Utah, and that was a known thing around like the state or the city in which he was from. And Karl Malone kind of was just like distant, and then it was reported that like when the young dude, the child, the abandoned child came of age, a teens or whatever, and tried to reach out to Karl Malone. Karl Malone basically told the kid like, I mean, you're a grown man. There ain't too much I can do for you. And that was like that's the alleged story revolved around Karl Malone and the child that the child that he has with an alleged he conceived with an alleged underage teen. But yeah, Kendrick Lamar using that to what Izzo was talking about playing into the underage girl theory of Drake.
Allegedly, of course, we don't want
Allegedly,
to.
air quotes.
We don't want to be nailed to the proverbial cross, so to speak. On oh, young dude, shut up. No, this is
Yeah,
all alleged.
despite all the factual things, man, I think Kendrick kept it battle rap at the end of the day. And he also flaunted the fact that he wanted a friendly fade with this man as far as lyrics go. He didn't want to get personal. He wanted to rap how better he is, how much more achievements. They didn't want to get into family things. Just to even go back to the beginning of it, just to the core of it, Control was a homage to great players, not great players, to great artists, great rappers. If he named you in that Control song, when he says basically, I love you, but I'm gonna kill you, it's an homage to like how good you are, your competition, you're on my level. Like, take it as a compliment. And apparently people did, except for Drake. And he took it to that point where it was just like, hey man, why you want to be friendly in my face when you diss me? It's like, bro, that's not even a diss, that's an homage. So at the end of the day, man, like a lot of this, animosity between the two is just Drake having this whole misunderstanding with the culture, bro. Like, and it's bad, man. It's one of those things where you don't notice it until you flash the light on it. It's always been there, just like you said, Sean Hart. It's like it's always been there, but until someone actually flashes the correct light on it, it's crazy. And
what I was just gonna say to piggyback off that, what we mean by that is we understand that Drake is a black man. Obviously, when you're mixed with black, even though your mom is, Jewish white woman, that's perfectly fine. But you have a black father whose, roots originate in Memphis. So it's like, though you have the racial qualities, quite literally, you're of black descent, but you may not necessarily understand the plight of a black man, especially a black man in America, right? Um, Culturally speaking, we don't share those experiences. And I think I could comfortably say that because if you notice throughout the beef, the type of post Drake was referencing in regards to the movie references he was using within his Instagram post, people were like, man, what movies are these from? Right. Like obviously, some people are just, movie heads, you're gonna know movies, but like culturally speaking, just being a millennial, I didn't know most of those movie references that he put up. Like as opposed to the one, with Denzel, obviously I knew that one, but like I didn't know those movies. I had to go do research and go look it up. Like, so in order for that to be the immediate thing that you think of that you can kind of like cut to and want to harp on, it's like, okay, you're proving this point in regards to the cultural disconnect. Like you not like us. And that's okay. But you can't parade around like you the man, like you are, and be black when it's convenient for you. Quite literally putting it on like a costume and being able to put it on and take it off at your leisure when it's convenient for you, i.e., when it's time to sell records, i.e., when it's time to exploit rappers that were from Atlanta, wondering why you weren't trending in the club or wondering why you weren't getting the same amount of, airplay and radio play in this, hip hop mecca of what's to believe the hip hop mecca currently of the world, which would be Atlanta, right? So you go and coincidentally start hanging around Future, you start doing albums with 21, you start doing, all these things, and then it's like, oh, that's really when you saw you can argue that's when you start to see the ascension of Drake and just started to like boom and dominate the world. You can line up those timelines on when he started really messing with, and I'm not saying he wasn't huge before that. He was already a megastar, but when he crossed over into pop culture, start looking how them albums started sounding 2015, 2014, 2016, when he started crossing over, you start hearing more house music on some of his records and stuff like that. He started crossing over into a whole nother new lane. So you can't knock him for being strategic, but you can't be you can't flaunt it like you the real McCoy when really you really good at money or
entertaining.
master manipulator. I'm just saying, man. He spoke
He's
the
a great
truth, man, and
entertainer.
sometimes the truth hurt, man. And I still think Drake is a dope artist. I don't want to come off like I'm a Drake hater. I'm not a Drake hater, bro. Like I still like Drake music. Like you can't deny him, bro. Drake is talented, but he lost the beef, bro. Like, he lost it. Um, you know, you big enough to this ain't just now this may be affecting your bottom line with some endorsements because that's something you definitely don't want to be tied to as far as dealing with underage people in regards to, in a sexual manner, in that regard. So that's always a very thin line that you have to be on the right side of. So hey man, that's ain't no rules in rap beef. So, it is what it is.
And at the end of the day, man, like just real quick, I think Drake is an entertainer that wants to be a rapper.
Mm.
That's what he is. He's an entertainer because at the end of the day, man, no matter where you put him at, he knows how to do the job. sometimes, but obviously sometimes he does it a little bit overly corny. But at the end of the day, he understands the assignment. He wanted to be an actor. He was a pretty good actor. He goes out there and be a rapper. Damn good actor. Damn good rapper. Performing, you seen the shows. Guy is good. But at the end of the day, it doesn't take away from the fact of you're not an actual lyrical, cultural rapper organically. People have to tell you what's hot. It don't come to you like, I feel it. Like people that's inside the culture, they feel what's right. You don't go out there and search it and look up and Google what's hot right now. Like, no, you out in this world and you out in the culture, you just know. There is no discussion, there is no meetings, there is no, oh, what are we doing now? It's like, nah, dog.
Yeah, and just go peep Drake, like where he go when he in Toronto, he got his whole thing going on where he's talking like he's from the hometown, and then as soon as he get around some of his Atlanta buddies, he slam this and like he a totally different person. And like if you were to know somebody like that in real life, you would call him corny, you would call him a cornball, bro. You would call him unoriginal, somebody who don't know how to be themselves, or is just uncomfortable with being a true raw and authentic self. You know what I mean? So it's like, hey, you got to call a spade, and I feel like Kendrick was probably one of the only rappers who had the platform to call them out on what they thought and do it in a creative enough way to where it's tactical, it's done within a way that is captivating at the same time. So it's like that was a moment in time, man. Like that'll be something that kids probably would dissect within a college lecture. I'm pretty sure. If not, it's already being implemented. You know what I mean? It'll be definitely a topic of discussion going forward, especially within the art space. Like it'll be dissected as far as the layers on what could have been this and what meanings could have been what. So it was entertaining,
I
man.
think it may go as deep as why did they lose the battle? Like
right.
you talk about dissecting it. I really do think it's gonna get that deep. It's like, okay, what made Drake lose this battle, quote unquote, or what bar was not right?
So
what do you think was killer for Kendrick?
when I was listening to both of their records back to back, no pun intended, or maybe pun intended, but I was visualizing it from like a courtroom standpoint, right? If like Drake had to go before the judge and had to face the jury, and you had to listen to what Kendrick Lamar had to say at the end of it, and you had to make a ruling of like, hey, based off Kendrick's closing argument, so to speak, do you feel like Drake is liable to be found guilty? And I feel like the jury would be more susceptible to finding Drake guilty based off Kendrick Lamar's case presented, as opposed to them believing Kendrick to be guilty based off the facts, the alleged facts, or whatever the argument that Drake presented. And that's how I came to my conclusion that Drake, you lost. I feel like a jury would find you more in contempt or being guilty than they would Kendrick based off how y'all presented y'all case.
Drake is a high dollar lawyer. Kendrick is a get it done lawyer. Just like that. He gonna give you the facts and everything you need to hear. And Drake's gonna just jazz it up and make it look cute and just kind of like play with the truth.
Because in the courtroom, right, you think about, for those who got to see the doc on like OJ, like it's not about like what you did. I know they say it's not about what you did, it's about what you can prove. But apart from what you can prove, it's also about how can you paint this image in the juror's eyes to make them believe you are, or somebody is or is not a murderer, so to speak. They did or they didn't do it. And like just bar for bar and imagery and all the whole shebang, like Kendrick just presented a better case. Like it's that simple. You know what I'm saying? Like, and you could, even when Drake was it Family Matters that Drake had dropped, and then Kendrick came right back with Not Like Us, that was like Kendrick being like, objection, Your Honor. Like, I ain't trying to hear what he got going on. Like, this is what I have to say still. So, but yeah, that's how I've gauged it in terms of like who I believe won the rap battle.
Hey man, the proof is right there. I think the heart part six just more so kind of like I said summed it up for me. You know, when Drake kind of contradicted himself about um, it was clowns in his camp that leaked the info, and then you come back 4 bars later and talk about how you linked the info and they fell for the bait. They took the bait. It's like, well, are y'all the clowns? Like, since y'all are the ones who out of your camp that leaked, you know what I mean? So it wasn't as tactical. I feel like it was rushed, and Drake was on the defensive instead of the offensive. And when you on a defensive position, like sometimes you're not as tactical and you're not as uh, sharp as you normally would have been because you're having to be reactive instead of being proactive and being on the offensive. So it's the art of war, man. And part of the art of war is perception and being able to, like Black Peace was saying, and EMAC was saying, it's just like paint that picture and that perception of, okay, what Denzel said in Training Day is not about what's right, it's about what you can prove.
And also, speaking of, rebuttaling to the beefs, I think the best rebuttal inside of like each diss track was the slavery one. When Kendrick said you double down on calling the slaves. He kind of tripled down on calling the slaves low key, if you think about it. No, he doubled down. I'm sorry. But yeah, he doubled down because he said on his last album about whips and chains like American slaves. And then he backdoored and he said, Kendrick, you rap like you're trying to free the slaves. So in a rap mindset, Kendrick actually
I
does kind
think,
of rap like he's trying to free the slaves in a lyrical
yeah,
mental
you're trying to
mindset.
free your mind from the mundane way of thinking and trying to more so expose you to a new perspective or a new way of thinking to critically think about your circumstances and how it pertains to Black people as a culture and just because a lot of the things that you grow up experiencing as a Black person, especially within the inner city or anything like that, like you just experience a collective of things, and a lot of us have a lot of shared experiences based off of different environments that are similar, more similar than we think, right? So I just think Kendrick being able to talk from a place of inclusivity, being live the culture, and being able to vividly connect with the culture, i.e., earlier albums, Good Kid, Mad City, like that was like one of the best albums in the history of music. I'm not even talking about rap. Like that made it into the Congressional Hall of like records. Like this is like a part of United States history. Like long after he's gone, long after his immediate family is gone, like
Substance.
they're gonna talk about that forever. Now Drake hasn't. I don't think he has an album that has made it there. He's not a. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's not to say Drake isn't gonna go down as the greatest artist of this generation or something close to it, but it's just something to be said about every time you drop, it is a monumental moment in time that never ceases to really get forgotten about. And that's how I feel about Kendrick's album. So that I don't really mind him dropping whenever he wants to or anything like that. When it's something that good, you know what I mean? Like that don't drop every year.
Plus, a fun fact: Drake's best selling album, Take Care, was technically The Weeknd's album. It was technically like at least half of that album was his. But due to the fact that his fame, he knew he wouldn't be able to get that right recognition. So he technically gave it to Drake. Like this is known facts. He is known as a writer on half those songs. So his best album was given to him by an R&B singer. So it's just the things that like when you add everything up, it's just like it gets crazy. It gets freaking crazy. This is a known
and
fact.
and to piggyback off of that, a lot of Drake's best records, I found out he wasn't a primary writer on Sicko Mode. Some of your favorite disses from Drake, the back to back record,
Light
the
pack.
light pack. That's why Kendrick was saying he wasn't saying a light pack isn't, man. That's like I'm gonna smoke you. You like fresh za out the pack. Like nah, that's a dilate pack. Like that's literally from his repertoire of words that you use because he's one of your writers. Like I know you. You can't hide from me. So just from that alone, Kendrick won, man. Like, and then to have Whitney's brother co-sign the "Not Like Us" record and reposted and quoted on Twitter with full support of him, kind of debunked the Kendrick hitting on his wife angle from it because I don't care who you are, and again, this is a cultural thing. If a man is beating on our sister or a loved one, a female that we love in our close immediate family, bro, ain't no outward public support for that, man. I don't care what the object, I don't care what your job occupation is, bro. Nigga finna be on your head about that, bro. Like night and day, like the public perception, bro. Like you know what I'm saying? We got a real fundamental problem on our hands. So from that angle, it to me, it debunks that. So the only thing you can say, you know, about Kendrick, aside from the hint on his wife, with that child may not be his. I can't really speak to that. I don't really know those individuals like that. I can't really speak. There's not really a lot of details around that, but hey man, like I said, it's not about what you know, it's about what you can prove.